Okay, well, welcome to the room here. This is a part of our video series on our YouTube channel. You can go to Paul Cares / or YouTube, or go to YouTube / The Room Paul Cares, Cedar Grove. Today, I am really, really happy to discuss and talk and converse with a very unique individual. I found her to be wonderful, just meeting her for the first time at her latest show here at The Room. The one and only Lisa Graff. Lisa, welcome, and thank you for joining us on this little conversation. And the first question is how did you start to do what you are doing for these shows and your history and everything?
Well, I have a background in theater, and I am a writer, and I have both of those loves. And I actually saw a friend of mine do something similar to what I'm doing. She wanted to tell her story, and she wanted to accompany it to music because it's much more interesting. So she had a singer and she had a guitar player, and they did this show together. And I watched the show, and as soon as it was over, I was like, this is what I have to do. This is what I have to do. Because when I first retired in 2010 to the Lewis, Rehoboth area in Delaware, I thought I either have to spend my energy on acting or I have to spend my energy on my writing. And I felt I had to choose.
Right.
So I thought, well, I'm going to go for the writing part. So that's what I did. In fact, I entered a contest through the Rehoboth Beach Writers Guild, which just celebrated their 20th anniversary last night.
Yeah.
And the first place winner was going to get their piece published in Delaware Beach Life magazine. And that's where I got my article. And it was about what to do in retirement.
Really?
A little bit. Like it was about getting my feet wet was the name of it. A lot of people retire and we have no idea what we want to do. Or we have an idea what we want to do.
We have that void to fill.
But what are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
So after I saw that show, I went and wrote my own. And Delaware Beach Life magazine, the editor is Terry Plowman.
Okay.
And I had heard that Terry Plowman had a band and that they used to perform together. So not having ever even heard the band, I approached Terry Plowman and I say, hey, you want to do a show together?
What do you got to lose, right?
And Terry goes, okay.
Right.
So he brings these two cronies out of retirement, and we're in his basement or his little addition.
Yeah.
And I wrote a show called The Schoolgirl, The Scandal, and The Scoundrel, or Everything I Ever Learned in Life, I Learned as a Waitress. That was fun. And the idea was to speak some of the story, then play a song that matched what was happening in the story, the same kind of mood and everything, and then speak a little more, and then another song. So
it was fascinating. I mean, learning about your background, and you are a published author, right?
Yes, I am.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're a journalist for the Washington Post. Was that?
I'm not. I'm
No.
published in the
You're
Washington
publishing
Post
in the
4
Washington
times.
Post.
You got to be
4
really
times.
proud to get in that.
Yeah.
I am a journalist.
Okay.
I spent. I began my writing career. Kind of really launched in 1990 when I stopped teaching for a while to be a stay-at-home mom, and I got a big sale to Women's World magazine.
Wow.
And that sort of launched my writing career, and then it gave me the courage to submit to places like the Washington Post.
Okay.
And I wrote a little column called The Neighborhood News. I got paid $10.
$10.
$10 a
Wow.
month.
What a stipend.
And then they started giving me gigs. They started saying, can you go over and cover this event where a firefighter is going to get an award tonight because of his bravery of rescuing someone? Off I go to this event like a little journalist, and I'm thinking, these people don't know that I know nothing, but I can figure out, so how do I get the quote from this guy, right? And I'm like, can you come over for a few minutes and tell me about this? So that led to more and more departments, because at that time this was called the Gaithersburg Gazette instead of the Cape Gazette.
Got it.
And I would go into model homes and I would write up the home and make it look fantastic so it would sell.
Oh,
So I
okay,
started working
okay.
for all the different sections of the paper.
Really?
Yeah.
So, well, I guess that really helped your creativity. I mean, you brought your talents to the newspaper, and that just made them. Who was the winner, you or them?
I think both.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got to learn and train, and it was, what is it, boots on the ground or whatever.
Yeah, you're right.
Whatever
Boots on
they
the
call
ground.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it gave me the courage to keep practicing
Keep
my
going.
craft. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the show that you put on, and I was fortunate enough to be part of, and meeting you for the first time, was absolutely incredible. I cannot stop talking about it.
Okay, now which show was this? Because
This was just Monday.
Just Monday.
Just Monday.
Okay,
So it
good.
was the
That's right.
8 Steps to a Perfect Marriage?
It's
or-
called the Secrets
The
to a
Secret-
Long Marriage
Secrets to a
and
Long
Other
Marriage.
Myths. Because I wanted it to be tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
know?
it was perfect.
Thank you. I
It
had
was
a lot of
perfect.
fun with that script. That was that was show number 5.
That was show number 5.
Yeah, because I
okay.
never did another show with Terry.
Okay.
And it wasn't because I didn't want to.
Yeah.
It was because that band was not really together. They weren't
Yeah.
really performing at the time. And so this is a great story. So I go to an event, and it's in Rehoboth, and it's at a community event. And Holly and John Flynn
Yeah.
are performing. And I hear her sing in French. And
Yeah.
I've already thought about my second script. I haven't said it to anybody, but I've already thought. I failed French in college, and it's a very interesting
I took it in
story.
high school too, and let
Okay.
me tell you,
So
I stopped.
when I heard her sing in French, I was like, I've got to do a show with this
Mm-hmm.
girl, right? So there they go on break, and I walk up to her. Don't know her from Adam either. And I go, I'm like this little kid going, gosh, you're so good, and it would be so great if you'd do a show with me. And then I told her I had a gig with the Terry Plowman thing, and it hadn't started. It was at Shrimpies.
Yeah.
And I said, just slip in the back. Just come on and hear it, because it's really hard for me to explain what I do, which is why you're interviewing me.
Sure.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Where does it belong? And I don't know. Anyway, she came. First thing I did after I took the curtain call, I turned around and said, Holly, what do you think? And she said, I'm in.
That's great. It's a perfect match.
It was.
I mean,
it was.
really,
Yeah.
her and John really complement. And, who picks the tunes?
Well, that is the fun part.
Yeah.
The creative process
Yeah.
at work. So I take my script,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a draft. And it's draft number, 65 or whatever. And I take it to the artist.
Mm-hmm.
And then together, I write down song. So like I have a sense of, I have a theater background, I have a
Yeah.
master's in theater anyway. And I've done a lot of acting. So I write the script and I write song, and nothing. And then I write a little more, song. So I insert the songs. Now, it doesn't mean we can't change them, and we have.
Right.
And then I take the script and I sit down with the vocalist and the pianist, and together we choose songs.
Okay.
And their repertoire, because they perform,
Yeah.
their repertoire
They
is
went-
huge.
Yeah, they went through everything. I mean, from the Police to
We had-
what are the show tunes that they were
For
having?
this last script that you saw,
Yeah.
they suggested, we came up with 3 possible songs at every single interval, and we had 12 songs. And we could have had, what's 12 times 3?
Yeah.
36.
Yeah.
I'm so good at math. We could have had that many, and so it's a balance, because I want to figure out, too, as the director of it and the producer of it, how much talking to do
Yeah.
and how much singing to do to make sure the audience stays engaged.
That's true. It was. I know that I found myself waiting for that break when the music would come in to complement what you had just
Great.
spoke, and the timing seemed perfect on just about every. What do you want to call it? Change out or changeover, whatever you would say that word is.
Thank you.
But yeah, it was really good, and I think Holly and John really bring out. They're entertaining, like you said. They add
performers.
they're performers, so they really do complement what your words are, and they have their own little way of doing it, which is unique. So you have the moment where you're focusing on them for just a second or two, watching their talents, and then it comes back to you, where you're just going through another paragraph, another story again. So it was so unique. I thought, well, it's almost like a vaudeville situation.
Yeah.
You know?
I would have loved to have been born during that
Yeah,
era.
I mean, the entertainment, the
Yeah,
wholesomeness of it
I don't
all.
juggle.
No, I know, but,
I know.
well, that's probably what would have came out next
know,
or something, you
I
know.
know.
But it's really great, and you know, having it here at the Room, you know, for audience, if you haven't been to the Room yet, you really do need to.
It's a perfect venue.
It's a perfect venue.
It's
I was
a
going to say.
perfect venue.
Right.
It's just the right size for what we do.
Yeah.
And there's a professional sound man.
Yes.
I can't
Bill.
tell you what a difference that's made.
Yeah.
We actually hired Stuart Vining, who is another accomplished musician in the area, to be our sound man at the very first show when we were over at Shrimpy's. We paid him a certain salary to do that and come in and do that. And then John, when he came on board, was used to doing his own sound and bringing his own
really?
speakers.
Okay.
But I still hired actually a friend that lives in our neighborhood, John Bracco. Not hired. I asked him, look, we're having a little trouble with the sound. Can you come over and listen?
Right.
He had done sound for like CBS News or won an Emmy or something. Anyway, he helped us out. He said, John, you need to elevate your speakers more, which was also amazing about the Room. You guys just have
Towers.
this. You have the towers and you have it figured out.
Yeah.
So the combination of a professional sound person, the right size audience, the management, the great food, the great wine, it's just like a win-win.
It is. It really is.
And so I'm just hoping. I'm hoping they'll keep having me come
we're
back
gonna
because
we're going to keep it going with
I'm
your help,
happy.
of course.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
And Holly and John are so happy.
Oh, it makes such a difference when
Yeah.
you have the intimacy of 60, 70 people,
Yeah.
and the crowds are fun, they're engaged,
Yeah.
and I know I'm not a performer like you are, an actor, an actress, but I know that reflects back to you up on the stage, and you have to feel that.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I was very happy with that performance. But
Yeah.
you know what? I literally turned 2 pages.
Really?
I did. I totally missed a song.
You
So
know,
what people don't
yeah.
know, people don't know is what the plan really is and what really happens. So they were looking at me for a moment. I don't know if you noticed
Yeah,
that.
I
They were
did.
like,
Yeah, I did.
They
Yeah.
were like telling me I missed the cue.
Yeah.
I gave the cue. It was just to the next song.
Right.
I literally skipped this part. But in truth, we had only added that song like a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
That's just another thing that's really fascinating about this and makes me so engaged in this whole wonderful thing is that it keeps evolving. Like when I go over to their house, to John's house with the piano the first time, I like, oh my God, I'm listening to myself and thinking, I can do better than this. And Holly and John are trying this and thinking, oh, well, I think I can do this.
Right.
So we're constantly rehearsing it and improving it. And for instance, the first time I took Mama Won't You Dance With Me to their house, it was a really rough draft. And they were very polite. They didn't say a whole lot to me. But I left their apartment thinking, Lisa, you got to work on this one. And I worked on it. And I said, are you guys available next Wednesday? And then when we got together again, they were laughing and giggling.
There you go.
Because the material has to be as good as the song. You know, that's why this is working. It's not just Lisa or Holly or John. The 3 of us are
getting
doing
together.
it together.
I have a question from a fan's point of view.
Sure.
Okay, so I've seen the marriage, right? And you've explained you've had the others. And is there anything, we had a small discussion about dementia or Alzheimer's. Is there anything is there a story or is there something that you could, or you may have planned or something to talk about that or your life as you have had that experience?
I haven't specifically thought about that one. That is the topic of my second novel,
Yeah.
which is Up in the Sky So
Up in the
Blue.
Sky,
It came
right.
out in 2020, self-published on Amazon, but it's also at Biblion,
Okay.
Browse-About Books,
There you
we've
go.
got a shop local. I don't know if I'm prepared to go there yet.
I ask it as a fan,
Yeah.
and curious, because
Yeah.
I know we've shared a small conversation where, you know, we have the same experiences recently for myself as well.
Sure.
And I look at it like, well, can you, not disrespectfully, but could you lighten the stories around your experience? I mean, for myself, I had very funny moments with my father. And yet in 2 minutes turn, I would have a very different experience.
Exactly.
And so those moments where we were lighthearted were genuine and just cherished moments, even though, like, he would tell me, we knew where he was, he knew where he would be, and then it would turn.
I totally understand.
You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I found it to be really very special.
Yeah, it can be like Stories with Maury, something like that.
Yeah.
It can be. There is an organization that found me because of that
Okay.
novel, and they're called ALZ Authors, ALZ Authors.
Okay.
And there's like 400 or 50 of us. And they invited me to join the organization, and because what we're doing, I mean, and there's different, I was on a podcast recently called Dementia Spotlight, maybe a year ago now.
Okay.
See, I say recently, it was a year ago, right? And there's so much out there now for help, for so many resources. I actually have 3 very close friends whose husband or wife is going through this.
Yeah.
And so I don't know about me for the script with it. I think one of the things I'm trying to focus on is more humor.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yes.
so it could be with Alzheimer's, but you got to be very careful. I'd have to be really
it takes
careful
very
with
good,
that.
it takes talent
Yeah.
to draw something that, and you know, I don't want to get off the subject of everything, because your book, Up in the Sky, you do talk about your time caring. It was for your grandmother.
My grandmother,
right?
when I was in high school, it was my job to come home and prepare the snack and to play cards with her. And she was in her 80s and starting to develop memory issues. And she had a fall down the stairs, which landed her into a nursing home.
Yes.
And if you've ever, as a teenager, I was 17, visiting a nursing home, and it left such an impression on me.
Yeah.
I remember this lady stopping me in the hallway and asking me how the weather was outside. And I wrote a lot of poetry at that time, and I wrote a lot of poems about Alzheimer's and dementia and my grandmother. I don't know, during COVID, we were all kind of trapped.
Yeah.
Right?
No, absolutely.
So I thought to myself, well, gee, what could you write about? And I thought I have to write about escapism. So how that happened is, when I was a little girl, I would swing as high as I could on a swing. And I always had this idea, if I swung high enough in the air, I could go to another world. So I thought, well, let me play with this. So I get on the computer, and I have a child, not a further character, and she goes to another world, and the world is called Aurora, and she meets King Oberon. And it's a place of fun and all these characters. And then, of course, I have to figure out, well, where's she going to go?
Yeah.
The swing is magic. She comes back. After she's been there, she comes back. And then you go into her house through the screen door.
Right.
And her grandmother has fallen. And this young boy happened to be on his bike and heard her cries for help. And little Tommy comes in and helps her. So I just had so much fun writing that novel, because I was able to deal with the topic of Alzheimer's, have Tommy be the one that gets to befriend the little 9-year-old and go in and play cards with her. And she's really good. And sometimes she beats him. Like you're talking about those good moments.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So anyway, I'm proud of that work too. And, but I did learn something about being a writer, very much learned something. If your characters in your book are 4th or 5th graders, it's considered children's literature. And I don't write for just a child. When I write a book, same with Find Me Alone. My Find Me Alone was written about an alcoholic father. My father was an alcoholic. Shown number 4, Mama Won't You Dance With Me, reveals that. Because that was my first big sale to a national magazine in women's world. It was called Heaven. Maybe that's what heaven is, a place without alcohol.
Okay.
Now I'm getting all turned around with all these things I'm telling you.
Well, no, I know the audience would enjoy hearing more about it, and of course I'm like just enthralled here for the moment.
So I think that's what the answer to your question is. My goal is to entertain the audience, but every single one of my scripts has ended with a message.
Yeah.
It's ended with something that we need to ponder or think about, you know. And the idea with the marriage script, why I think it worked, all of us are in this situation. A lot of us. We've been married forever, right? And everything they do annoys the heck out of us. And how can I do this?
I've told so many people
not,
about Mondays.
and not insult my husband.
Well,
The first thing I
you
did.
were very good at that. You were like tiptoe, a little bit. The golf was perfect because I'm back there going, yeah, she never reminds me going out and playing golf and then hitting the 19th hole and.
Whack that golf ball, right?
Go
Instead
ahead.
of whacking
Go for it,
something
Greg.
else.
Go
Go
for
for it. Yeah, yeah.
But
That's the goal. But I need feedback. Like, I love what you said to me about you thought it was the nice balance between music and storytelling.
Yeah.
I know that you're collecting information when you have a thing here. What can the restaurant do to improve? But the last show I did, I asked Bill if he would tape one.
Okay.
And I brought him a couple of flash drives, and he taped a show.
Did he? Okay,
so we're going to tape this next one because I went ahead and mailed it to family members without sharing it with Holly and John. And I want them to sit down with me, listen to the whole, it's about an hour each show, and see what they think.
Well, with the audience being full every time you sell the room out, every time you say, I'm here, I don't think there's too much criticism in what you're doing.
Thanks.
And I don't think you'd get that from anybody.
And you know, it really happened because of, again, I'll go back to the Writers Guild.
Yeah.
You know, here I came down here like a lot of other people, not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. And Mary Beth Fisher had started this guild. And we were maybe 20 people. We are 500 now.
It's incredible.
And we'd had monthly events. And Shrimpies needed the, just like you need, we need each other. Restaurants and people that perform can need each other. Shrimpies all of a sudden got to serve 90 dinners on a Monday night.
Yeah.
And they had seen me perform because I was often an MC and I was often a reader. And my goal when I was a reader, you only got 300 words, but my goal was to knock them dead. In 300
words?
300 words. That's
good.
pretty hard to do.
It is very hard to do.
Mary Beth Fisher would hold you to it because she always wanted to get 9 writers in. But, you know, that's what works. And, yeah, my head is swimming with ideas now. I've already jotted down some ideas about my next show. And I don't know yet.
Okay.
But I know that...
You'll keep us all updated, right?
I know, because when the other one was still in rehearsal, I was writing this one about marriage. I was writing that same script while I was in rehearsal for the other one. I have to keep going.
Absolutely.
Life is short.
It is short.
We got to make the best of it.
And what is it? You got 5 years left on the contract?
Yeah. Yeah. I hope we get them.
I hope you get them.
I hope
Absolutely.
we get them. Honest to God, that was the bottom line. The bottom line was, you know what? You know, look around. You know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are in worse straits than you are. Always.
That is true. Absolutely. So, well, this has been great. And folks, if you haven't, again, we're here at the Room. If you haven't been to the Room, please look up the Room at Paul Cullen's. Paul Cares.
Yeah.
There's a few websites you can get to. paulcares.org. You can check the schedule for the Room. We have fantastic artists, weekly, monthly, regionally, sometimes nationally, but you have to see Lisa because her show is tremendous. This is unbelievable, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk about it.
It's wonderful to chat with you about it.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right,
Paul
Lisa.
Cares, the Room at Cedar Grove.
The Room at Cedar Grove. And like I said, the mission is we help support those individuals seeking a career in the music and culinary arts. Very good. 100% of what goes on in the room here during the dinners, the drinks, everything goes to the mission. So it's a great situation. Hope to see you here, and we'll be talking again. Visit us on online from Facebook, YouTube, and our web. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.